he didn't want her ass to roll him into the shower, turn on the water, and leave his ass there for days. You want to come around with the bitch, tell the bitch to come get you out the shower. Oh, my life, I don't remember the rest of that Christmas. Our house, which always rang with music day and night, was silent. I was torn between wanting to run back to school because it was so painful for me to be home and not wanting to leave at all. Eventually, I returned to school in a daze. Nobody told me he was dying. To the contrary, back at Northfield, I kept getting optimistic reports about his progress. On January 25th, they operated to remove the cancerous left lung, and the next day I received a rather dispassionate telegram saying that the surgery was successful, which actually meant that they had successfully removed his lung and he didn't die from the operation. I don't think I heard anything more until the 15th of February. Somebody came into my first period biology lab and said that I was wanted back at my dormitory. I hated biology, and on most days I would have welcomed any excuse to get out of that wretched lab with its smell of formaldehyde, but this particular time it didn't feel right. When I walked back to the dorm, our house mother waited for me. She was the sweetest little lady, and I had developed a close relationship with her. Her name was Miss Trask, and she had to be 80 years old. She had no business being a house mother. She should have been out in the garden enjoying the sunshine and not trying to deal with a bunch of crazy girls like us. As soon as I walked in and saw her face, I knew something was wrong. Really, seriously wrong. Her eyes were a bright blue, and they were brimming with tears. She talked in a whisper all the time, but at first she couldn't say a word. She didn't have to. I knew. Holy Redeemer, when my paternal grandfather passed, I'm going to tell you, they called over the, I don't know what you call it, the speaker, I guess, but it was called something else back then. And baby, when I came downstairs, my grandmother was there. I believe it was both my grandmothers, my maternal and paternal grandmothers. And they told me that my grandfather had died. I believe I was in the 8th grade. It was to be a memorable flight for all the wrong reasons. The guy sitting next to me was a talking alcoholic who drank his way from coast to coast. For 5 hours, he was ear-banging me from the bottom of his champagne glass. I don't remember a word that he said, but in a way, he kept me from focusing on what was going on inside me. I just kept looking at him, and all this time, I didn't shed a tear. We landed at about 6 o'clock that evening. Cookie met me at the airport and took me home. The whole thing was surreal. I was floating through a world I knew so well, but everything was different. Y'all, I swear to God, after my mama died, I was in a fog, y'all. It was like I wasn't here. You know, like for those of you who have lost someone that you've loved, I mean, closely, I ain't talking about like, child, my wife's such a damn Virgo. Child, it could be Ray Ray's cousin, nephew, baby mama's, aunt, Kiki, sister, on the father's side, nephew's cousin, and my wife will cry like she know the nigga. You hear me? It just, some people just cry over everything. You know what it remind me of? Remember that lady on Good Time on Good Times. I forget her name, but she would be at every funeral crying her eyes out. You heard me? I forget her. She played on 2272. I respect her hustle because she was one of the ladies that said, hey, when I didn't have work as an actress, I was running an elevator over there. And I respect that. Just like if YouTube ain't kicking it for me, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my ass around there to that hospital and I'm going to get my ass to work. All right. But some people, they don't want to work. That's not what they do. Outside of people that have mental issues, oh, baby, they don't want to work. They don't want to do it because they can't be seen at the CVS stocking shelves. Bullshit, the baker. If y'all see me anywhere, hey, Rob. Hey. The next day, Cookie and I went to the Angelus funeral home to view the body. They showed us to this rather large viewing room. It wasn't cozy at all, but quite austere and chilly. There were only 2 chairs in the room, one on either side of the coffin. Dad was lying in there with the lid open. And after we tiptoed in and looked at him for the last time, we sat down, baby. I don't know why, but I'm not scared to touch a dead body. Mickey told me, Mick, her mother, my Aunt Crystal, she told me that I damn near crawled in the casket with Auntie. Y'all, when I tell you, man, losing someone you love, that shit is so painful. But you know it's going to happen because you're getting older. And eventually somebody will cry over you. You know it's going to happen, you know. The funeral a few days later is another blur in my memory. What I do remember is that it was held at the beautiful St. James Episcopal Church that we all attended on Wilshire at St. Andrew's Place. As we arrived, I remember seeing thousands of people waiting outside the church and lining the sidewalks along Wilshire Boulevard. I barely recall seeing anyone, but I was told that the mourners included Steve Allen, Count Basie, Jack Benny, Governor Pat Brown, George Burns, Billy Daniels, Sammy Davis Jr., Cy DeVore, Jimmy Durante, Jack Entratter, Leonard Feather, Gordon Jenkins, Robert Kennedy, Peter Lawford, Johnny Mathis, Billy May, Ricardo Montalban. Ricardo Montalban. Ain't that the fantasy? Ain't that Fantasy Island? Ain't that Ricardo Montalban? Nelson Riddle, Frank Sinatra, Danny Thomas, and many other wonderful people. Because my father had been so ravaged by the painful ordeal of his death, my mother requested that the casket be sealed. Throughout the services, we carried on bravely. Cookie held Kelly's hand and my brother went through it all stoically. Even if he didn't really comprehend what was going on, the resemblance to John at JFK's funeral only 15 months earlier was all too painfully apparent. The funeral was the worst day of our lives. The family carried itself with grace and dignity, which was, after all, the correct thing in these circumstances. We kept it together on the outside barely, but we were all torn up on the inside. Our friends, our family, our relatives, I mean everybody. It was just such a heart-wrenching event that everybody was devastated. Since that day, my family has never been the same. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. Please don't send me back. I remember lying on a bed in my mother's bedroom and pleading with her about not returning to Northfield School for Girls. I could see my family falling apart, and I felt suddenly alone and unprotected without Dad. A part of my life was over and had been buried right along with my father. I don't think any of us realized just what a cornerstone my father was until he was gone. My mother was so devastated that she just couldn't step into that void. Pause. You know what that remind me of? For all of you who are Sister Soldier fans, remember when Winter Santiago, her mother, had lost her father to incarceration, and then she just fell apart. She started smoking crack and everything. She was a hot mess. And for those women who their entire life is their man more than their family, and I must say this, if you fall apart because your nigga ain't around no more, then you some trash. Because if he ain't there no more, how you gonna take care of the children if he's not there no more? You don't know how to eat, breathe, clean the house. You don't know how to do nothing because the ninja ain't there no more. What good are you going to be to your children? I just don't respect women that are so engulfed into their men. That's why I will always respect the Sagittarian man, because if they feel like you can't make it without them, they don't want to be bothered with you. That's why they always seek out independent women. You can make it on your own. I know you got it. If I leave this earth, or if I have to step out the way for a while, I know you got it. And I know you'll take care of our kids. See, that's why I respect about them Sagittarian men. Now, they ain't shiz, but they choose well. All you who are married to Sagittarians, they chose well. My mother was so devastated that she just couldn't step into that void. Some widows can pull the family together and say, okay, this is what Nat would have wanted, and this is what we're going to do. Mom, for whatever reason, wasn't able to do that. Her life, her whole world had evolved around my father. Don't respect that kind of bitch. Since I'd been at boarding school, I knew nothing of Gunilla Hutton, the woman Dad had been having an affair with. But my mother certainly did, and it must have made dealing with the aftermath of his death even more difficult. Y'all, Gunilla Hutton. What's her name? Okay, hold on. Gunilla Hutton. Girl, and she's still alive. I had to Google her, right? And it's a goddamn shame that her Wikipedia mentions her romance with Nat King Cole. What the hell does your life come to when they mention your brief stint on Petticoat Junction and that you were the hee-haw girl? Okay, and they also said that she did some shows, The Love Boat, Perry Mason, some of the game shows, Family Feud, The Match Game, Password. Listen, it's what the Wikipedia say. For about a year or so, she was involved in an extramarital relationship with Nat King Cole. Hutton had been said to have telephoned Cole's wife, Maria Cole, to tell her to divorce him. Maria, in turn, confronted her husband, and Cole ended his relationship with Hutton after being diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Later, she married former Air Force pilot Alan Freeman. They had 3 children together and remained married for 43 years until his death. Pause. Wasn't it one of you that told me that while that man was on his last leg, the one leg he had to kick the bucket with, he was still sending that lady money? Oh, damn well Nat King Cole ain't stopped messing with that lady. Hold on, let's go to the Nat King Cole one and see if they mention her on his. That's a goddamn shame. Unforgettable. That's how we'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible. Let's read the circumstances surrounding Nat King Cole's death. In September 1964, Cole began to lose weight and experienced back problems. He collapsed with pain after performing at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. In December, Cole was working in San Francisco when he was finally persuaded by friends to seek medical help. A malignant tumor in an advanced state of growth on Cole's left lung was observed on a chest X-ray. Cole, who was a heavy cigarette smoker, had lung cancer and was expected to have only months to live. Against his doctor's wishes, Cole carried on his work and made his final recordings between December 1st and 3rd in San Francisco with an orchestra conducted by Ralph Carmichael. The music was released on the album LOVE. Shortly before Cole died, his daughter noted later that he did this to assure the welfare of his family. Cole entered St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica on December 7, 1964, and Cobalt therapy was started on December 10th. Frank Sinatra performed in Cole's place at the grand opening of the new Dorothy Chandler Pavilion of the Los Angeles Music Center on December 12th. Cole's condition gradually worsened, but he was released from the hospital over the New Year's period. At home, Cole was able to see the hundreds of thousands of cards and letters that had been sent after news of his illness was made public. Cole returned to the hospital in early January 1965. He also sent $5,000. Oh shit, here go Ganilla. He also sent $5,000 US 51,000 in $2,024 to actress and singer Ganilla Hutton, with whom Cole had been romantically involved since early 1964. Ooh. Hutton later telephoned Maria and implored her to divorce him. Maria confronted her husband, and Cole finally broke off the relationship with Hutton on his deathbed because he didn't want her ass to roll him into the shower, turn on the water, and leave his ass there for days. You want to fuck around with the bitch? Tell the bitch to come get you out the shower. Cole's illness reconciled him with his wife, and Cole vowed that if he recovered, he would go on television to urge people to stop smoking. On January 25th, Cole's entire left lung was surgically removed. His father died of heart problems on February 1st. Throughout Cole's illness, his publicist promoted the idea that he would soon be well and working, despite the private knowledge of his terminal condition. Billboard magazine reported that Nat King Cole has successfully come through a serious operation, and the future looks bright for the master to resume his career again. On Valentine's Day, Cole and his wife briefly left St. John's to drive by the sea. Cole died at the hospital early in the morning hours of Monday, February 15, 1965, at the age of 45. I don't want to go back. Mom told me you have to go back. I'll be fine.